Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and tonight we're going to make a really special pair of earrings using the Jessie James Beads Pale Rosette bead strand and the In the Fairy Garden cha-cha tassels. Aren't these really special and pretty? Anyway, these are from my Jessie James Beads December Design Ambassador Pack. And I think they're really pretty, and I think we can really make a really nice pair of earrings from these. So let's turn down and do that. So what we're going to need to make these is a pair of ear wires, our vintage Fairy Garden cha-chas, some 20 gauge wire, and our Pale Rosette bead strand. Now, what I'm going to use out of here is the rosette, this spacer, and then these 3 beads right here. And we'll of course need both sides. So let's cut those loose and get them ready to go. What I'm not going to use, I'm going to put up in here. And of course this gives us plenty of beads so we can make something else if we choose to. So what we're going to do with these is we're going to put the cha-cha brace tassel on the bottom, then it's going to be the rosette, and then just these just as they came off of the strand, just like that. And I think that's going to make a really pretty earring. So let's cut some wire and get started putting these together. So we won't need a lot of wire. I'm thinking probably about that's probably more than enough right here. Let's make, and we'll want to cut 2 pieces of this. And I'll measure it for you in just a second. Okay. Now both of these sides have the little sharp notches, so we want to cut those off. And then, like I say, we will measure it here. It is, well, they are about, well, once they're straightened, about 5 inches. Probably don't need that much, but I always like to err on the side of having too much as opposed to not having enough. So we want to straighten these out pretty much. Once I have these as straight as I think I really need them, then we will start putting these together. So the first thing we want to do is to make a loop on the bottom for the cha-cha tassel. So we will make our bend. And then I always use my step bell making pliers to make my loops. So use usually the smallest one unless I need a big loop for something. So I've given this a bend, put these in and twist it around and come back to the other side. So I have the loop here, and I notice that I've got it going backwards a little bit, so we'll straighten that up. And then before I start the loops around it, I'm going to put the tassel on. Then we'll hold it with these pliers and get this in this hand because I work better this way. And then we will wrap this loop. And we only need like 2 or 3 down here at the bottom. So that's probably plenty right there. So we'll cut this excess off carefully. And tuck it in. Now once we've got this part done, we want to look and see if it's hanging straight down. This one looks to be a little bit off, so we'll straighten it up some. And I notice my loops have a little gap right here, so we're going to straighten that up by putting my pliers into this and then across the top and just pulling down. There we go. So there's that, and now we're going to put our beads on. So we'll just find a spot in the filling rosy. Now these don't have any particular holes, just try and make them get sort of central. That looks pretty good. Because the next bead is a pearl, and the pearl's coating can scrape, and these have, you know, a little bit of rough edges, we're going to put a spacer on here. And then the pearl. This little crystal rondelle, and this pretty little rose-colored bead here. And there we have our earring together, other than putting on the ear wire. So the next step is to form the ring around the top for the ear wire. And we make that, of course, exactly the same as we did the loop on the bottom by just putting your pliers in. Now we want to make sure we're making our loop the right direction, which would be facing the same way as the bracelet's going there. So now we've got that there, and then we bend this over. So now we want to put the smaller side of the bell making pliers in again and wrap it around. Drop it down, bring it around, make sure you're straight up to it. And now we're going to put our ear wire in. So let's ascertain which side looks to be better, it's the front or the back. Well, it really doesn't matter because that's slipped right into there. So whichever way is front, put your ear wire backwards to that. Slide it on your wire, up and around, and then hold with your pliers here just above this where they connect, and wrap. Since this is the front, we're going to want our cut to be of the wire to be back here in the back so that it doesn't get in the way too much. And what this I noticed is pushing a little backwards, so we'll straighten it up before we cut because we don't want to accidentally have that in our way. Put our flush cutters in, make sure we're not going to cut anything extra, cut the wire off, and tuck this in. And there we have our first earring. Now we just make the second one exactly the same way. So let's get started on our second one. So again, we take our wire do a bend. Then get our bell making pliers, small one, put it in, wrap all the way around. Make sure we're straight up and down. Put in our tassel. Snap it into place. Oh, she wants to be difficult. There, I think I just felt her go. Yep, she did. So then we'll grab hold of it and wrap it. I think we put 2.5 wraps on the other one. And I wrapped on top of the other wire, and we don't want to do that, so I will pull it back out. And I'm going to get another pair of pliers to make this final wrap here. Trim that. And tuck. Now that we have this all done, let's check and see how straight it is here to the, oh, that's really nice. Let's see if we need to pull this down any. No harm in just a touch. That looks good. So now this is one time we want this straight, because we want this to go through this bead and find the opposite side as much as easily as possible. There we go. That looks pretty good. Yep. Our spacer, pearl, crystal spacer, and our little rose bead. And now, again, we want to make sure we're going in the proper direction here for our ear wire. So we want to turn it sideways so it goes this direction. Bend this over. Get our bell making pliers in the slot. Around we go. Come around. Make sure she's standing straight up and down. Put our ear wire in. Again, it really doesn't matter because you can't see the connection because it's down below where it ends, because it's in the Feeling Rosy bead. Come on, baby, go on here. There we go. Now that that's on, hold the top and wrap. Now we'll trim this excess off. I think we got the same amount of wraps. Let's check. Oh yeah, we're looking pretty good there. So we'll cut this little bit off. Tuck it in. Throw that extra bit of wire away. Put our tools up. And there we are, our pair of vintage Fairy Garden Cha-Cha rose with the earrings with the Pale Rosette bead strand. And Aren't those pretty? So let's turn back up and we will look at these a little better. Okie doke. Here they are. There's 1 and 2. Real pretty little fancy little earrings made with the vintage Fairy Garden cha-cha tassels and the Pale Rosette bead strand from Jessie Jane's Beads, all of which were in my December Design Ambassador kit. And I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and we'll see you again sometime. Again, this has been Rose from In Rose's Garden. Thanks. Bye-bye.